Good morning. I'm Dennis Graves, Supervisor of Animal Control, and we released a statement to the media yesterday in regards to the fact that we had received 3 positive rabies tests from the K-State lab. These were all skunks, and they were all located roughly on the east side of town. 5100 block of East Pine, 1700 block of North Sagebrush, and the 11500 block of East Wilshire Terrace. This is kind of unusual in that to have 3 in basically less than a week and a half, and it speaks to some precautions that people need to take to make sure that their animals are protected, because animals tend to be the bridge between wildlife, rabies, and possible human infection, which obviously is a public health concern. We're advising that all individuals check with their vets to make sure that their animals are vaccinated against rabies, and if they're unsure or if they've never seen a vet, it would be a good time to take care of that. Rabies is a virus. It affects warm-blooded mammals, and it can be fatal if contracted by humans and not treated immediately. The best thing that people can do is just make sure that their pets are vaccinated, and that we are assured that our dogs and cats that are coming in and out of our house are not a risk of being infected. And at this time, I could take any questions anyone may have.
You mentioned the areas, but for those who don't know, give us a general area where that's really affecting.
Generally, 5100 East Pine is approximately Woodlawn, Edgemore, and Central. Wilshire and Sagebrush are in the far east sections of town, out around 143rd East, in Harry, and between 143rd East, Harry, 13th, 17th, far east. It's a very wide range, and it just illustrates the fact that we know that rabies is out there. It's in the wildlife population. In skunks are probably the biggest reservoir of the disease in this area in Kansas, and it's just it's a common thing that skunks get rabies, but it's kind of uncommon that we would have 3 skunks get encounters with dogs, and then those all 3 come back as positive.
How long ago were the skunks found?
Excuse me?
How long ago were the skunks found?
Last week, basically about midweek. I don't have the exact dates on each one, but midweek last week we sent them off for testing, and we got our results back. Actually, while I was discussing, our typical protocol is to do a door-to-door canvass and hang flyers on people's doors. However, due to the fact that at the time we had 2, we were considering doing a press release. And then while I was emailing back and forth to my captain, we got another one. So we said, well, you were definitely going to do a press release. So to make sure that everyone in town knows. Just because they're on the east side, that doesn't mean they can't be anywhere else. And it's, like I said, rabies is common in wildlife. It's very uncommon in pets, and the reason for that is because of decades of vaccination protocols. And it's just a good idea with this information to remind people to make sure that their pets are vaccinated.
So were all 3 of these skunks that had contact with dogs, you said?
Correct.
And so were they trapped afterwards, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they were either killed by the dog or they were trapped, and we tested those.
Were the dogs themselves, had they been vaccinated?
The one is about a month overdue, and then the other one was current, and the one that came in last night, I'm not sure. I haven't gotten briefed on that one yet, but that came in late last night.
Which one was the one that came in late last night?
That would have been the one on Wilshire Terrace, I believe. Yes.
What did the homeowners do correctly, or pet owners do correctly in these instances?
The things that these people did correctly is when they suspected that there had been an encounter, they contacted Animal Control. And, of course, our red flags went off. We went and made sure that we had a way and means to gather up the animal and get it tested. Typically on a nuisance wildlife call, people will be referred to a private contractor or someone through the Wildlife and Parks that holds a nuisance animal removal permit. Anytime there's a public health concern, like a known rabies reservoir that gets in contact with a domestic pet, if it's something unusual or there's an exposure like this, we'll want to test that.
Did the homeowners or the pet owners all know that these were rabies infested skunks?
No, there's no way to tell just by looking. They didn't know that until we tested and it came back positive. What we typically do is we'll put the pet animal, on a temporary quarantine while we're waiting on the test results, just to let them know that we're looking into it, and we'll let you know as soon as we get the results back.
So obviously if there's been an exposure to, just get them to a vet, and even if they've been vaccinated, it's not.
Yeah, vaccines are not 100% effective, and there's protocol under Kansas state law for unvaccinated animals and vaccinated animals. An unvaccinated animal will have to undergo a strict 6-month quarantine. A vaccinated animal will undergo a 45-day observation, which they just keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't get sick and let us know if anything strange happens.
The quarantine and the 45-day observation, are they kept at animal control facilities then? Or?
No, we can do a home quarantine or observation. We typically evaluate the home situation as long as they've got the means to contain the animal and they understand the ramifications. We allow home quarantines and home observations.
You said 6 months quarantine?
On an unvaccinated animal.
Is that because it takes a while for maybe it to connect to the water?
Correct. Yeah, there is a pretty long incubation period on the virus to migrate to where it's able to be shed on an animal that's recently exposed. So there's 6-month quarantine is what the National Association of State Public Health Veterinarians recommends on an unvaccinated animal.